Hi and welcome to the Beer Temple. I am Chris Quinn and we're doing things a little bit topsy-turvy today. Instead of doing this before the tasting before the store opens, I'm going to do it after the store has closed for the day. It's Sunday, I closed a little bit early and I had a kind of a special tasting here today, and I figured I'd make sure I saved some for myself so I could do a show with it. We have here 7 different years of Bell's Expedition Stout, their Russian Imperial Stout. A big, robust, and when young, quite bitter Russian Imperial Stout, 10.5%. And really, you know, when the craft beer thing was just getting going, a pretty legendary beer. Expedition Stout was one of the beers to get. I remember it was kind of this one, Black Chocolate Stout from Brooklyn, and Bourbon County Stout from Goose were like the ones. And Expedition was this kind of like, you know, Bell's, you'd kind of heard of it, you never really got to try it, and they've expanded, they've gotten a lot bigger in recent years. So just kind of this wealth of beer here is really cool, and I wanted to talk a little bit about beer aging. We've done verticals in the past. You know, as darker and stronger beers tend to age better. Sours are a big exception to that, but really it's fun to take the same beer over multiple years and see how these beers can change subtly. I myself, a lot of people like to jump to the oldest beer, so I have 07, 08, 09, 10, 11, and 12. And people like to jump to the oldest beer immediately. I think you really aren't getting the most out of the aging process if you're going to taste through a vertical and do it that way. I think you want to see what the beer starts out as and then see where it ends. You don't read a book from the back to the front. You read it from the front to the back, and I think that's just the most fun way to do it. Everybody wants to taste the 07, like I get it, but you gotta start from the beginning. The other thing I will mention is I am tired, so I apologize, and I just went to Kuma's Corner and got myself a delicious hamburger. So, in a bit of a meat coma as well, but I think I can make my way through it. I think if anything can get me out of it, it's a 7-year vertical of Bell's Expedition Stout. Because this is already open, I don't need to pop these caps, but I will pop a cap. Anyone who knows me knows I'll pop a cap. So I'll start with a 13. So, Bell's Brewing, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Pretty much the Michigan brewery, you know, if you had to name one. And they've been making this beer for a long time. I was trying to find exactly when they started brewing this beer, but I couldn't. But man, I mean, you're talking 15 years at least. So, absolutely jet black. Right at the edges, you get a little bit of a dark brown and a nice kind of brown sugar colored, like a light brown sugar head to it. I'm not going to describe every single beer. I'm not really going to describe the same overall flavor every time. I'm just going to describe the original one and then tell you how it changes over time. Alright, so this is a 13. This is about 2 months old or so, 2.5 months old, just a baby in terms of Russian Imperial Stout. Some really nice dark chocolate, not necessarily a bittersweet chocolate, but just a nice rich dark chocolate nose. There is a little bit of fruitiness as well, kind of like cherries, and some hop character as well. I'm getting a little bit of like a piney note to it, just a hint though. Very complex, very dark and roasty. A little bit of umami in there, a little bit of that savory quality. Really lovely smelling. In fact, I think this smells better now that it's been sitting out open, honestly, for a couple hours than when it was originally open. Really slick, viscous mouthfeel. Bitter. The first thing you get is just like a nice milk chocolate. Then you get a hop bite, and it almost turns that chocolatey note into like a bitter chocolate. That fruity note is also there as well. Really lovely, lovely beer. If you're into those like really high cacao percent chocolates that are kind of popular right now, you would like this a lot. It reminds me of those really, like, you know, get up into the 90% chocolates. And still just a hint of that dried cherry in there as well. What a lovely beer. Wow, really well put together and pretty aggressively bitter as well. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of these stouts are very bitter. I mean, we're talking much more bitter than your typical IPA would be. These Russian Imperial Stouts have a lot of bitterness because it's what you have in there to counteract some of this sweet malt in there as well. So, that was the 13. I'm missing one. I said 7. I only have 6 beers here. Where's it? Uh-oh. Gotta dip into the secret stash. Where is it? Here we go. Well, this one's gonna be cold. There we go. Okay. Now we've got 7. People are probably like, why is he saying 7? There's 6 bottles. I told you I'm tired. I'm tired. It's Sunday. I've been working. I haven't been watching football. So I'll pop a cap on this one. Oof. Pours like absolute motor oil. This one is almost exactly 1 year old, looking at the packaged on date. 2012. A little bit, I'm already getting a little bit of an oxidized note to it here. That hoppy character that I was getting, the little bit of pine, isn't there anymore. I feel like it's a little bit more fruity. But really, I mean, not entirely different. Still quite bitter. It's amazing how this bitterness really holds up. And look at it just coating the glass. The glass is like now like almost brown looking from it. The bitterness really gets you in the back end. It more quickly develops to that bittersweet, to that dark, bitter, dark chocolate. How before I said it was kind of like almost like a dark milk chocolate and then transitioned. This one almost immediately hits to that kind of robust, roasty chocolate note to it. The fruit is still there. That little bit of that woody, earthy note is gone now. Still tastes quite young. If you gave me this bottle now and said this is 2013, I wouldn't really question it. The nose had a little bit of that oxidized character to it, but other than that, super solid. 2011. Should probably pour it here, so you can see. We got a lot of Expedition to drink. Jesus, take all these home. The fruit is really starting to come forward now. And a lot of what this is, you know, there are some changes that occur over time. You know, oxygen interacting with the beer will bring out certain flavors. The other thing is other flavors will just drop off over time. So it's not necessarily that some flavors jump up. It's that some flavors were down here and you couldn't really perceive them or just barely, but other flavors were up here, and as they drop out, they become exposed. Kind of like as the tide goes out in the ocean and you can see the rocks now appearing. The rocks were always there. You just couldn't see them before, and it's similar with aging some of these beers, and wine for that matter as well. You know, they just weren't, they were overshadowed by other things. And this fruitiness, you know, you certainly got in the beginning, but it's starting to come forward. This chocolate-covered cherry is really starting to come out now. the dark chocolate in general, the rich brownie almost like note to it. Man, this smells lovely. Man, absolutely killer. Still a hint of bitterness here. The roastiness is still there. You still get some of that roasty, not acrid, but that really hard roast to it that has bitterness to it as well. It's still there. The chocolatiness is kind of rounding out, and from that bitter dark chocolate, it's becoming just a nice dark chocolate, almost like in the beginning of this one, the 2013, how I said it's like a dark milk chocolate and then it becomes a bitter chocolate. You're getting towards the front flavor of this one again, oddly enough, because that bitterness doesn't kick in, and you just let that really dark, rich milk chocolatey note come through. I just really love that, like dried red fruit flavor to it, like a dried black cherry. Man, what a great beer. This beer truly just gets better with time. And most beers, I would say over 99% of beers, do not truly get better with time. There's some beers that age well and change, but they don't necessarily become better, they just become different. And this beer I have found truly becomes better, to the point where I really don't drink it when it comes out. I buy it and then I drink whatever I have old of it. Really a great beer, and I think for as well known as it is, still an underrated beer, Bell's Expedition. There we are. We are now down to 2010. Now some of these are a little bit more still than they were when I opened them, just because they have been open for a while. They were open today for the store, but in this style, they're pretty low carbonation to begin with to style, and it hasn't really affected them, I don't think. If you disagree, that's fine. Oh my goodness. Wow. It's nice too that this isn't barrel aged, because you don't have anything else getting in the way of the beer. It's just the beer here. I mean, I love Bourbon County Stout, as you guys know, but you know, you do have the bourbon in the barrel here. This is just the beer, and man, I mean, I'm not gonna say that, I don't know how many times I've had the base beer for Bourbon County without the barrel in it, but man, I wouldn't bet money that it's better than Expedition. So I'm getting so much fruit now. I'm getting blueberries and black cherry, dark chocolate, like a nice, like almost light roast coffee, oddly enough. Some of those like fruitier roasts. Man, hints of umami, but the umami's almost dropped off. That fudginess is just massive here. Man, I cannot explain to you how fudgy and fruity this beer is. When I say fruity, it's not like a fruit beer. It's just these undertones of dried fruit are just out of control. I mean, just such a great beer. Man. Man, that's a great beer. 09. I mean, the 13 and the 12, I think I probably prefer the 13. I think this is kind of an awkward adolescent stage, but it has just been getting better. Just the flavors are just becoming almost more intense. mean, this smells like a chocolate cake right now, like a dark chocolate cake with some cherry or raspberry syrup on here. The amazing thing is, I mean, there's still hints of bitterness on here. Man. I mean, this is still quite a bitter beer. I take it back, not hints. This is still quite a bitter beer. I don't know if I like this one more than the 10. I mean, it's every bit as good as the 10. Wow, that is good. I'll pop a cap. I will pop a cap. So, I know you're just sitting here watching a dude just taste through things, you know, kind of silently by himself, and that's not ideal. Tell me about yourself. How's work been? Very interesting. My work's been fine. I just drank 7 years of Bell's Expedition Stout. Oh man, this one is just like brownie batter. Absolutely chocolatey, not as fruity as the previous ones, but just a deep fudgy note to it. Hints of oxidation, but just absolute, man, this one might be my favorite. This is so good. It is like drinking fudge with like fruit, maybe even a little bit of nut in there. Wow, what a wonderful beer. 2008 Expedition Stout. I mean, we're talking upper 90s here, guys. I mean, 98s. This beer is phenomenal. Wow. Unbelievable. 07. We're at the end. Starting to drop off a little bit here, a little bit more oxidation showing. The fruity undertone is still there, that fudginess, that dark chocolate note, but the oxidation has crept up a little bit. A little bit of booze hint to it as well, booziness. Man, this one's like booze-soaked fruit. A little bit more of like a caramel note to it. A little bit of that oxidation, a little bit of that like cardboard oxidation, just a little. I don't think it's really a bit removed from these three or these four, really. I would guess that it would be this particular bottle rather than this whole vintage. I have other bottles of 7, and I would put money that they wouldn't all kind of drop off like this. When I'm saying drop off, I mean this one is maybe mid to low 90s. I would drink this pretty much anytime you set it in front of me, though. It's nice. The umami is there as well. Just a wonderful, wonderful beer. So basically what has happened, the beer has gone from a very nice, bitter, dark beer with loads of complexity into just this unctuous, dark, deep, chocolatey stout with wonderful fruit flavors. Just as good as a Russian Imperial Stout gets. I mean, give me an 09 Expedition Stout, I will put it up against any Russian Imperial Stout that is out there. Just a wonderful, wonderful beer. So subtle and really not hiding behind anything either. You know, you throw something in a barrel and, you know, vanilla and booze taste awesome. But what a great beer. Guys, thank you so much. I know I was rambling a little bit. I know I'm a little tired. But just really kind of a special occasion, and I wanted to share this with you guys, so thank you very much for doing that, indulging me with that. And that's about it. What am I gonna do here? What should I finish with? Well, screw it. I'll finish with some 7. Guys, thank you so much. I've got some great beer to drink, and I hope that you do too.